So when it comes to trading on the lower time frames, I'm typically using a three-step model. I call it the triple X model, and it allows me to read the story of the price in only three simple tools, right? So the only three tools you need ever. So we're going to be going over the basics before I go to the charts. And so on the 15-minute time frame, I'm looking for a 15-minute range break with a key level. So the reason why I call it a range break is because I don't want traders to confuse this with the orb, right? So this is not the orb, right? It looks like the orb, but it's not actually the orb. Now, the reason it's not the orb is because I see a lot of traders, typically what they do is they will focus on only the orb, right? So what this means is they will try to enter, right, based off a break, right? They'll try to enter based off a breakout. Now, this is not completely correct, right? So if you're a breakout trader and you're struggling with basic direction or you're struggling to get a good read on the market, right? So you got to have your absorption levels, right? So I spoke about this previously in the video. You need to have your absorption levels in place before you take an orb strategy. Now, what you're typically looking for is a break and retest, right? This is what you're looking for. So your orb, which is over here, right? This is only your second confirmation. So first you're looking for a key level, then you're looking for an opening range breakout or an orb, and then you're looking for absorption. These are the three steps that I follow. So you got to have your key level, you got to have your opening range breakout, and then you want to confirm everything with the order flow. It's very important you get these steps correct, right? It's super important you get these steps correct, right? In this order. So you need to have a key level first, then you wait for a range break, and then you look for absorption. So step one is a key level, right? That's the first thing you're looking for. So until we tag into one of these levels over here, so 1, 2, right? I'm not looking to trade. I don't trade any of this. It doesn't matter what the orb is doing, right? I do not trade where there's not a key level. So I'm looking for a break and retest to go short, or a break and retest to go long, or a break and retest here to go short, right? I can only trade at my levels, and I see so many traders trading without levels, and it just freaks me out because you don't know where the market actually wants to trade from. So it's kind of like trading blind. So even if you look at my pre-market plan for that day, right? So I have my key levels in place. So 1, 2, 3. If we look at this from a volume chart perspective, we have our POC down here, right? Point of control. And so what we mean by point of control, it is the area on the chart from the previous day which had the most amount of volume transacted. So in other words, we want to be trading where, or we want to be targeting areas where the market has high volume, right? High volume refers to high interest. Now, once you have that in place, you can start to understand what's going on here. So this was sort of the orb setup. Now, when we look at this from a basic candle perspective, we're looking for a break and retest. So how does the break and retest form? So a break and retest forms like this. So step one, we have a key level. Step two is we're confirming the key level with the opening range breakout. And so if you're a breakout trader, right, what you want to understand, if you're a 15-minute breakout trader, this is the low, right, and this is where it gets broken. We don't look to enter here, right? We look to enter at our key level to go long or short, right? That is the main distinction I want you to understand and take away from this video if you took nothing else. You need to have your key levels. In fact, what I've done here in the Discord is I've given you a bullish and a bearish cheat sheet, right? So we're going to be focusing on this first. So do you see price hitting an absorption area for the week, right? So this is an absorption area. These are our key levels. So do you see price hitting an absorption area? No, no trade, find the absorption area, right? So in other words, if you don't see an absorption area, you do not take a trade and you go back and you find where the absorption areas are. Now, assuming you know where the absorption areas are, you go, yes, has price tapped into that absorption area, right? No, wait for price to hit the absorption area, right? Yes, right? Has price broken the low between 9:30 and 9:45, right? That is your Eastern, that is your 15-minute orb, basically. Has price broken the low, right? So in this case, we have broken the low, so that's tick, right? So we can now move on to the third step, right? No, find the absorption area. Yes, has price retested the absorption area, right? So what we're looking for is a break and retest. So notice how I'm building a story in price. I'm not just looking to trade any random break, any random sweep, any random fair value gap, right? Your trading needs to have frameworks and directions to them. Having flow charts like this definitely helps. So once you have your key levels like this, 1 and 2, you're looking for a retest into the actual zone. And so the retest looks something like this. So what we can see is we have a break below our zone, and I mark out this candle over here. This is a break candle here. Now, once you have that break candle, you're looking for a retest into the zone. There is your retest, and you're only allowed to go short as we go past the retest candle, right? But we want to understand what was going on here, right? So how do we determine that? So we determine that by looking at these charts over here. So here we have the same chart, here we have the same retest area, right? So we have break and retest, and we want to understand what is going on inside of that level, right? So I have broken this down many times, and I'm going to continue to break it down on every video so you can understand the basics of footprint charts, because the basics of footprint charts are so basic that if you can understand it, you can win in the long term. And so the basics of footprint charts are very simple, right? You have a bid and an ask, right? You have the bid, which is the left-hand number, and you have the ask, which is the right-hand number. Now, here we can see a large amount of aggressive buying compared to aggressive selling because the delta is blue. Now, when the delta is blue, right, so that's going to correspond to this wick here, this one, and this one. If this delta is blue, and we see price breaking below the key level, right? So we see price giving us a bearish break, then a retest. We can go short here, and we can have our stops just above this wick. Now, what gives us confidence to place our stops here, right? And we just want to be targeting minimum the level down here, right? But of course, we had a pretty monstrous short, right? So again, I had my 3 key levels down here. We want to be targeting the local key levels down here, right? It's just like that. So this is the short that actually played out. But what we want to focus on is the break and retest model, right? So the break and retest model is break, retest, and then go short like this, right? So we want to know what's going on here, and then we want to know what's going on here. In order for us to understand that, we will have to go to footprint charts. And we want to understand that if we have a lot of aggressive buying over here, right, we see buy orders trying to drive price up, right? That is what's going on. So let's take this to the right-hand side. Yeah. So what's going on here is we can see a lot of heavy buying activity, right? But the market struggled to break above this area. The market broke lower. And so when we see blue delta, but the market breaks lower, this is the market rejecting buyers. So in other words, what's really happening here is, think of it this way. We see here a lot of the market buyers pushing up, pushing up, pushing up, pushing up, but instead they meet what we call passive sellers, right? PS, passive sellers. Now, these passive sellers are responsible for driving price down as they absorb these aggressive buyers, right? So I've made a lot of videos on footprint charts, so I don't want to make this a footprint chart video. This is more of an overall process video. And this was sort of the 3-step process that I use, right? I use this process every single day to trade. Now, as you can see here, just to continue, just to play price on a little bit more, right? What we can understand is we have bearish structure, we're in premium, right? So we have our rejection areas over here in premium, and Thursday we had a huge sell-off. So once you have your absorption areas here and here, these are absorption levels, these are absorption levels. Once you have your absorption levels, it becomes easier for you to time the actual entry, right? You can time the actual entry because you actually understand where to take a trade from in the first place. So this is sort of your 3 steps. You're looking for a key level, a 15-minute range break, and then a break and retest to go short, right? So here we have a tag into our first key level, right? Then we have our 15-minute, we wait for the 15-minute to form, and then we use order flow in these regions to see a rejection here and a rejection here. So here again, we can see again, once again, we can see a lot of this positive or blue delta, right? Aggressive buying, right? And no reward. Even over here, aggressive buying and no reward. So we're seeing the buyers not being rewarded. They're being rejected. They've been absorbed by the aggressive sellers, right? And so this is the final sort of thing I want to kind of leave traders on, right? If you're struggling to trade New York session, I want you to use this framework I've made, right? So I call it mastering the New York session, right? So does price hit a key level? Yes. Does price break a 15-minute high or low, right? So again, let's go here. So no, sorry. So does price hit a key level? Yes. Does price break a 15-minute low? Yes. Do you see more aggressive buyers and sellers? Yes. Does price break below the level? Yes. Short, right? So that's what you're seeing over here. So you're seeing tag into a key level, break below the 15-minute range, aggressive buyers failed, go short, right? That's essentially how the break and retest works, right? So this is the break, right? This is the retest, and there is your entry. Now we're looking for break, retest, entry, right? And the only way you can confirm that is by using the chart you see in front of you. I make all my videos centered around processes and order flow, and it's important to understand you want to get your process down, get your key levels, and confirm everything with the order flow.